He hadn't seen the sun in 8 years. Buried in weeds at the edge of a forgotten Romanian village, a rusted metal barrel held more than old rainwater, it held a life. When volunteers heard the faint, broken sound, less a bark, more a breath, they thought it was the wind. But then they saw it, a black dog with white paws, eyes dulled by time and pain, chained inside a barrel no bigger than a trash can. His legs didn't work. His ribs showed through patchy fur. His name would come later, but his story was already unforgettable. What kind of world lets this happen? And what kind of people stop to change it? This is not just a rescue. It's the moment everything almost ended, and then didn't. Hit like, subscribe, and let's go. Silvia Petrescu had learned to move quietly through villages like Tiliu. She wasn't a vet, not officially, but for the dogs forgotten by the world, she was everything. Her morning started with boots in wet grass, a thermos of coffee in one hand, a leash in the other. Locals knew her as the girl with the van, always stopping at broken fences or empty barns. On this October day, she'd come to check on a reported stray near the railway. Mountains stood silent in the distance, golden leaves drifted across cracked roads, and for a moment, life felt gentle. Silvia believed in small work done often, food left out, dogs spayed, voices raised just enough. She didn't expect much to change that morning. She certainly didn't know that, hidden beyond the weeds, a life had been waiting for nearly a decade to be seen. It was the sound that stopped her, thin, hoarse, almost not there. Not the bark she was expecting, but a rasp, like breath dragging through rust. Silvia turned toward an overgrown yard, fenced off and forgotten. Behind the thistle and broken boards, something caught the light, metal, curved. A barrel? Then it moved. Her stomach dropped. She stepped closer, heart racing, eyes scanning the shadows. Inside the barrel, 2 eyes blinked back at her. A dog, skeletal and silent, chained to the base, barely alive. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. No food bowl. No blanket. Just metal, filth, and bones. The chain had rubbed his neck raw. She called for help, voice shaking. Whatever this was, it wasn't simple neglect, it was survival against time. She didn't know if he'd last the day. But she knew one thing, she couldn't walk away. The chain was thicker than her wrist, rusted deep into the earth, fused to the barrel's rim. Silvia pulled, but it wouldn't budge. The dog didn't move, just stared, head low, as if waiting for something worse. His body trembled with every breath. Flies clung to open sores along his belly. The air inside the barrel was sour, heavy with urine and metal. She called the team, but they were miles away. Her phone signal flickered. And then, a detail she hadn't noticed before, the ground beneath him was hollowed into a shallow pit, worn smooth. He hadn't just been here long, he had lived every season inside this barrel. 8 winters. 8 summers. No grass. No light. As the wind picked up, she felt it in her chest, not just urgency, but dread. This wasn't just a rescue. It was a race against a slow, invisible death. The van screeched to a halt just as the light began to fade. 2 volunteers from Associația ANU jumped out, one carried bolt cutters, the other a thermal blanket. Silvia's hands were shaking as they approached the barrel. The chain, rusted and coiled like a snake, groaned under pressure. One cut. Then another. A final snap, and it was done. But the dog didn't move. His muscles had forgotten how. Gently, they slid the blanket beneath him, lifting his limp body like glass. For the first time, his head turned toward the open sky. The moment felt impossible, like breathing underwater. In the van, someone whispered that the nearest clinic would stay open late. Silvia didn't look back. They didn't know if he'd survive the ride. But the barrel was behind them now. And that was enough to try. At the clinic in Brasov, fluorescent lights buzzed above the table as the vet read the blood work with a clenched jaw. Critical anemia. Liver near failure. Core temperature dangerously low. The dog, still unnamed, lay motionless, heart faint, breath shallow. They couldn't sedate him. Too risky. But the wounds had to be cleaned. Sylvia held his head while the vet injected fluids directly into a collapsed vein, whispering instructions to the team. They wrapped his body in heating pads, fed oxygen through a mask, and started wound care without anesthesia. He didn't cry. He didn't resist. His body had given up, but his eyes stayed open, watching, silent. Minutes felt like hours. Every beep from the monitor punched the air. No one spoke about odds. They just worked. And as the vet placed a feeding tube, everyone held their breath. He was still alive, but just barely. The clinic lights dimmed for the night, but Sylvia didn't leave. She sat on a plastic chair beside the cage, elbows on knees, hands clasped in quiet desperation. The dog lay curled under layers of gauze and heat, tethered to tubes, his chest rising in fragile rhythm. Every few minutes, his paw twitched, maybe reflex, maybe memory. Outside, Brasov slept beneath a thin fog. Inside, time dissolved into silence. Nurses passed by in soft shoes. No news. No change. Sylvia didn't speak. She studied every breath, every flicker of his eyelids, searching for a sign. Around her, machines hummed gently, indifferent to hope. She had done everything she could. Now there was only waiting. Waiting for a heartbeat to stay steady. Waiting for a body to choose life. Waiting for a name to mean something more than loss. At dawn, he stood. Wobbly, trembling, but standing. Sylvia jolted awake at the sound of claws scraping metal. For a second, she thought it was a dream. But there he was, thin legs shaking, head lifted, eyes locked on her like a question. A nurse gasped. Someone dropped a clipboard. He took one step. Then another. Then collapsed gently into her lap. The feeding tube hung loose, no longer needed. His body, broken for so long, had chosen movement. Chosen return. Sylvia cried then, not the silent kind, but the full release. The kind that comes after holding everything in for too long. The barrel, the chain, the silence, they hadn't won. Not this time. Not with him. For the first time, the dog had done something simple. Something sacred. He had tried. And life had answered back. Sometimes, saving a life means sitting still beside it. Sylvia often thought about that. Not the moment they cut the chain, or the clinic's rush, but the hours between, when all she could do was wait and hope. Noah, as they later named him, taught her something she never read in books: survival isn't loud. It's quiet. It's breath after breath. Today, he runs, slowly, with a limp, but free. And when he stops to lie in the grass, soaking in light he once forgot, she sees more than a dog. She sees proof. Proof that even in the darkest corners, someone might still be watching. Still listening. Still willing to kneel in the mud and say, not this one. Not today. His story is just one. There are thousands more. But this one she'll never forget. Noah's journey is just one of many, but it's a reminder of how small acts of kindness can change everything. Every life matters, and even in the darkest moments, there's always hope. Watching him now, running free in his new home, it's hard not to feel that sense of peace, that knowing he's no longer trapped in the silence of a barrel. We all have the power to make a difference. What would you do if you saw a dog like Noah? Would you turn away or take a step to help? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and share if you believe every life deserves a second chance. Thank you for watching, and we hope you'll join us in sharing more stories that matter. Don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming rescues.